Good morning, my darlings, and welcome to day 29. Oh my gosh, we're creeping ever closer to Halloween, are we not? Anyway, my darlings, today on day 29, oh yes, on this morning of mornings, I bring you Haunted by James Herbert. Oh, just look at that front cover. That's Edbrook, the house in question. Yes, I'll read you the blurb on the back. 3 nights of terror at the house called Edbrook. 3 nights in which David Ash, there to investigate a haunting, will be victim of horrifying and maleficent games. 3 nights in which he will face the blood-chilling enigma of his own past. 3 nights before Edbrook's dreadful secret will be revealed, and the true nightmare will begin. Oh my goodness me. This is the very first time that we meet David Ash. I think he was based on the character Bishop from The Dark. If you've read that, if you know, you know. The similarities are there, definitely. Wrote you a few notes, because why wouldn't I? It was first published in 1988 by Hodder and Stoughton when I was 12 years old. That's 36 years ago. Say it quick, it doesn't sound so bad. This edition that I have here is from the year 2000 by Pan Books. Pan Macmillan, that's part of them, yeah, right? Oh, yeah, ISBN number in case you want to get a copy. Right, well, we meet our main protagonist, David Ash, as he is sent by the Institute of Physical Research Institute. Kate McCarrick is his boss, but they're like really good friends, and they've been friends for a really long time. So they just know each other, they just get each other, and it's hinted in this novel that there has been a relationship of some kind that's gone beyond friendship and gone beyond a professional relationship. They're sort of like buddies in a cuddly kind of way, shall we say. Yes. We start off with David phoning Kate McCarrick and saying, I've turned up at the Ravensmoor train station. I've just got off the train, and the person that's supposed to be meeting me, Miss Tessa Webb, hasn't turned up. Have you got a phone number, or have you got any way of contacting her to find out where she is? Because I'm stood here, it's, you know, it's cold, and I want to get to where I'm supposed to be going. And they say that they can't find any contact details at the institute, only that Marielle is the family name and the house is Edbrook, and he's just going to have to hang on there until somebody from the Marielle household turns up, of which one does, called Christina Marielle, the stunningly beautiful Christina, with her gorgeous hair. Yes, her beautiful auburn hair. And he's quite taken with her, is Ash. He thinks she's really beautiful. And she thinks, wow, what a stunner. You think you'll be thinking that in a few days, Mr. Ash? Absolutely. Anyway, Christina turns up in the Wolseley, which is a very old-fashioned car. It's a classic, actually. And David admires the beautiful vehicle and says, gosh, you don't see many of those still on the road. Yes. And Christina turns around and giggles and says, oh, Nanny Tess would have been here, but I came down to pick you up instead. she's back at the house. And he went, is that Miss Tessa Webb? Yes, Nanny Tess. She's been taking care of us Marielle children for years and years. And he doesn't think anything of it. He just thinks, oh, all right then. So you got a nanny, but you're older children now, you're adults, and yet you still have a nanny that lives with you. She goes, oh, but she's an aunt. So you think, oh, right, that's the reason why she lives there, because she's the aunt of the family. Oh, Mr. Ash, they're already playing with you, Mr. Ash. You see, David's been brought in to prove whether or not Edbrook is being haunted. And he doesn't believe in haunted houses. He just doesn't believe in that at all. And his job at the Institute is to basically prove that ghosts don't exist. Oh, David. Without spoiling the plot, which is very hard to do, the people of Edbrook, Christina, Robert and Simon, who are her brothers, because there are 3 children that Nanny Tess takes care of. Well, with these 3 and David's sister, Juliet, David's sanity is going to be pushed to the edge of his sanity. And when the dreadful, evil secret is revealed, poor David isn't very well after it. No, he's not. You see, this person, Nanny Tess, oh gosh, over the next 3 nights, Edbrook, you'll never want to stay at Edbrook or any stately home ever again after reading this one. No, definitely not. Perfect for Halloween. We're really going to put the willies up, yeah? It will, indeed, in more ways than one. Ooh. You see, is Nanny Tess just insane? Or is she just downright plain evil? And these 3 children, Christina, Robert and Simon, they're just twisted little darlings, they really are. And they play evil, nasty games on David. And Juliet, David's little sister, seems to be a little catalyst. Don't you, you evil little thing? Ooh. Yeah. On the 3rd night, it will all become very, very clear. And it just goes to show the level of depravity that people will go to prove their point. Most definitely. Now, I'm not going to tell you any more about that plot because I don't want to spoil it for you. But this novel flips the haunted house on its head. It truly does. And it plays and messes with your mind like no other book I've ever known. True to form, my darlings, I'm going to read you a little bit, as I always do. To be haunted is to glimpse a truth that might best be hidden. That is a perfect description for this book. Sometimes we just have to believe that something is true. We don't need to see it. But unfortunately for David, he did. And so much of the outer realm is revealed to David. How much can a man's mind take before it eventually cracks? A dream, a memory. A whispered name. The boy stirs in his sleep. A pale, vaporous moon lights the room. Shadows are deep. He twists his head, turning towards the window, so that his face becomes a soft mask, unblemished, colourless. But the boy's dream is troubled. Beneath their lids his eyes dart to and fro. The whispered name, David. Its sound is distant. The boy frowns, yet the voice is within his own slumber, a silky calling inside his dream. His arms loosen from their dampened bedclothes, his lips part in silent murmur. His floating thoughts are being drawn unwillingly from their free, roaming hinterlands towards consciousness. The protest trapped in his throat takes form, emerges as he wakens. And he wonders if he has imagined his own cry as he stares through the glass at the insipid moon. There is in his heart a dragging sorrow that seems to coagulate the blood, so that movement in his veins is slothful, wearisome, somehow making all effort to exist a ponderous, perhaps even hopeless affair. But the whispering, almost sibilant, voice dispels much of that inner lassitude. David, it calls again. And he knows its source, and that knowledge causes him to shudder. The boy sits up, rubs the moisture from around his eyes, for he has wept while sleeping. He gazes at the dim shape of the bedroom door and is afraid and fascinated. He draws aside the covers and walks to the door, the trouser cuffs of his rumpled pyjamas caught beneath the heels of his bare feet. A boy of no more than 9 years, small and dark-haired, pale-skinned and strangely worn for one so young. He stands at the door as if fearing to touch, but he is puzzled. More, he is curious. He twists the handle, the metal coldness leaping along his arm like an iced energy released from a Brummel host. The shock is mild against the damp chill of his own body. He pulls the door open, and the darkness beyond is more dense. It seems to swell into the bedroom, a waxing shadow, an illusion, but the boy is too young to appreciate such natural deception. He shrinks away, reluctant to allow contact with his fresh darkness. His vision adjusts, and the inkiness dissipates, as if weakened by its own sudden growth. He advances again, timorously rather than cautiously, passing through the doorway, to stand shivering on the landing overlooking the staircase. To descend this would be like sinking into the blackest of all pits, for darkness down there appears absolute. Still the hushed whisper urges, David. He cannot resist, for there is hope for him in that summons, a fragile hope, one that is beyond the tight and restrictive bounds of sanity, but none the less the faintest denial of something so dreadful that he had become fevered with its burden. He listens for a moment more, perhaps wishing that the peripheral voice would also rouse his sleeping parents. There was no sound from their room. Grief has exhausted their bodies as well as their spirit. He stares into the umbra below, terribly afraid, and even more terribly compelled to descend. The fingers of one hand slide against the wall as he does so. their tips rippling over the textured paper. Disbelief mingles with the fascination and fear. Small lights caught from who knows where glitter in his pupils, tiny twins, beacons moving through the shadows, gleamings that slip jerkily into the depths. At the foot of the stairs he pauses once again, glancing back over his shoulder, as if seeking reassurance from his spent parents. There is still no sound from their bedroom, no sounds in the house at all, not even the voice. From ahead at the end of the corridor in which he hesitates comes a soft glow, a shimmering strip of amber. Slowly, each footstep measured, the boy goes to the light. He stops outside the closed door, and now there is a sound, a quiet shifting, as though the house had sighed. It could be no more than a breeze stealing through. His toes, peeking from beneath his pajama legs, are bathed in the warm shine from under the door, and he studies them, a delaying diversion from what he knows he must do next. The light is not constant, it flickers gently over the ridges of his toes. His hand grasps the door handle, and this time there is no cold shock. This time the metal is wet. Or is it merely the wetness of his own palm? He has to wipe his hand on the pajama jacket before he can make the handle turn. Even so, his grip is tenuous, skidding over the smooth surface before logging and turning. A brief thought that there is someone clutching the other side, resisting his efforts. Then the handle catches and the door is open. He pushes inwards, and his face is flushed by the lambent glow. The room is a display of burning candles. Their light bows with the opening of the door, and their waxy smell welcomes him. Shadows momentarily shy away, then rush forward in their own greeting as the myriad flames settle. At the furthermost point of the room, resting on a lace-cloth table, is a coffin. A small coffin. A child's coffin. The boy stares. He enters the room. His step is leaden as he approaches the open casket, and his eyes are wide. The moisture on his skin glistens under the candlelight. He does not want to look into that coffin. What child would? He does not want to see the figure lying there, not in such an alien state. But there really is no choice. He is only a child, and his mind is not closed to unnatural possibilities. Optimism may sometimes be bizarre in the very young, but it is no less potent for that. A voice has whispered his name, and he has responded. He has his own reasons for grasping at the inconceivable. He draws closer. The form inside the silk-lined casket is gradually revealed. She wears a white communion gown, a pale blue sash tied at her waist. She was, not much older than the boy. Her hands rest together on her chest, as if in supplication. Dark hair frames her face, and in her death she is almost serene, a sleeping, untroubled child. And although in truth she is perfectly still, unsteady light plays on the corner of her lips, so that it seems she suppresses a smile. But the boy, despite his yearning to disbelieve, knows that there is no life within that pallid shell. The rituals of grief these past 2 days not yet complete, were more convincing than her shocking absence. He is close above her, his brow pleated by a desperate longing. He wishes to speak her name, but his throat is constricted by the wretchedness of his emotion. He blinks, dislodging a swell of tears. He leans forward as if he might kiss his dead sister. And her eyes snap open, and she grins up at him, her young face no longer innocent. And her hand stirs as if to reach for him. The boy is frozen. His mouth is locked open, lips stretched taut and hard over bone. The scream begun, but only breaking loose a moment or two later. A shrilling that cuts through the lowering quietness of the house. His cry wanes, dissolves, and the boy's eyes close, as reason seeks sanctuary behind oblivion's velvet walls. Juliet, dear, darling Juliet. She's got plans for you, David. They all do. All have plans for you at Edbrook. Oh, what fun they will have with you, David, with those 3 nights, those 3 terrifyingly wonderful, scary and evil nights at Edbrook. So, my darlings, I hope you enjoyed that darling little book. Yes, it's the trilogy that started the David Ash. James, you've done it again. You've given us something to give us sleepless nights and goosebumps on our skin. Oh, the scariness is there. Don't you just love a James? Don't you just love his work? Well, my darlings, if you enjoyed day 29, guess what I've got coming on day 30 and 31? Yes, I do truly hope you have enjoyed today's little presentation. And if you've liked what I do, you can always give me a thumbs up. And if you really like what I do, you can always give me a follow. Come back tomorrow for another delightfully ghoulish tale on the last 2 days before Halloween. Or should I say the last day before Halloween, because the 31st is Halloween. And it's a wonderful time of year, what all us horror hounds have been looking forward to. Indeed we have. Well, my darlings, I will leave you there, and I will see you tomorrow with another ghoulish tale. Bye-bye, my darlings. Take care, and don't have nightmares.